Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Getting Started with Yulio webinar. My name is Nicole. I'm one of the client success specialists here at Yulio, and I'll be hosting today's session. The main objective of today's webinar is to provide a high level overview of the Yulio platform and its key features so that you can leave feeling confident to start creating and presenting your own VR experiences. This training will cover a lot of information, so if you have any questions along the way, please feel free to enter them in the question box, and I'll stick around at the end of the session to answer any questions that might have come in. My contact details are also on the screen now, so if you leave today's session with any questions or if you'd like to follow up with a one-on-one training session later, please feel free to reach out to me. And finally, if you do have to leave today's session early, I will be recording the full webinar and we'll send that to all registrants a little bit later on. So you can watch it back and share it with your team as well. So here's our agenda for today's webinar. We'll start off by briefly going over Yulio Jump. We'll then get into an overview of what you can expect to see in your Yulio account. After that, we'll go into creating and organizing your projects, followed by enhancing your projects with the Hotspot editor. We'll then look at some options for sharing your projects, and like I said, we'll wrap up with a Q&A period. So to start off, I'm going to briefly go over Yulio Jump. If you don't know, Yulio Jump is our cloud-based rendering engine, which is available through the Yulio plugin for Revit, SketchUp, and CET. The plugin is free to install and use for anyone with an active Yulio license. So, Yulio Jump is a simple way for you to generate the content you need for virtual reality and augmented reality with only a few clicks, and then sends those files directly to your Yulio account where you can create your immersive VR experience. I'm not going to be covering how to render with the Yulio plugin today, but I wanted to mention it as I will be referencing it throughout the session. To give you an example of Yulio Jump's capabilities, I'm just going to open up a project here in browser mode. This project was created in CET and rendered with Yulio Jump. So with Yulio Jump for CET, you can use CET's native lighting to light the space, which they've done here. And you can even add a background environment outside of the windows for added realism. So as we look around, we can also see some navigation and other enhancement hotspots around the space. Some of these were added in during the rendering process and others were added manually. And I'll go over all of the different types of hotspots that you can add to your project in more detail shortly. So following this webinar, if you're interested in learning more about using Yulio Jump uh, with Revit, SketchUp, or CET, you can visit the CAD plugins page on our website, which offers detailed user guides for each plugin. And those are available here beside each plugin that you see. You can also download the plugins from this page as well. We'll also be hosting a series of webinars in October that will cover Yulio Jump in more detail, so stay tuned for registration information that will be coming to our socials and your inboxes soon. Now, if your main priority is photorealism in your VR projects, you can still use Yulio with scenes you rendered with an alternative rendering engine that may be able to provide you more photorealistic renders. You just simply have to make sure that the scene files meet our upload requirements, which I will show you later. So here's an example of a VR project that contains scenes rendered from 3ds Max, but they were uploaded to Yulio to create an immersive VR experience with functional navigation and interactive hotspots. Now let's move on to a quick tour of your Yulio account. So when you first log into your Yulio account, you'll be taken to your projects page. This is where all the projects on your account will be stored. You can also come here to create a new project if you choose to create your project without Yulio Jump. You could always navigate to the project page by clicking on this tab at the top here. Now, next to this tab, we have the Headsets tab. This is where you can go to connect one or more headsets to your account. You can also download projects to your headsets from this secondary headset projects tab. And you can add up to 20 projects at a time to your headsets. The next tab we have here is Collaborate. Collaborate is our presentation and collaboration tool, and this is where you can go to start a Collaborate session. We'll return to this page a little bit later on when I cover sharing and presenting your projects. Next to Collaborate, we have the Resources tab, which includes direct links to the CAD plugins page. You'll also find a link to our knowledge base here. So this is a great resource to reference if you have any questions about how to use any of Yulio's features. And the last tab at the top here is where you'll see the email connected to your account. If you click on the Company Settings tab, this is where account administrators can keep track of account usage and manage licenses. From this Custom Branding tab in the middle, you can add your company logo here, and it will appear every time you enter a project in VR or browser mode. So this is a great way to personalize your VR experiences. All right, so now that you have a good idea of what you can expect to see when logged into your Yulio account, let's go back to the projects page and we'll get into organizing and creating your projects. So as you start creating with Yulio, all of your projects will be organized into folders along the left side of your screen. Yulio offers two different types of folders, public and private. You can tell which folders are public because there is a person icon on the folder. When you log into your account, you should see a folder titled Team. This folder is public by default, which means that this folder, along with any of its subfolders, are visible to you and anyone else that is a user on your account if you have an account with multiple seats. The solid black folders are your private folders, which can be helpful, especially helpful if you have more than one team member on your account and you want to protect your projects. By default, these folders are visible to you and anyone that is an admin or administrator on your account. So to create a new folder, you'll just scroll down here and click on the Create New Folder button. And this pop-up will appear for you to title your folder. By default, when new folders are created, they are created as private folders. If you want to make your folder public, you can just click and drag it as a subfolder under Team. And then if you want to change it back to private at any time, again, you can just click and drag it back down to the bottom of your list. All right, now let's get into creating our first VR experience. There are two ways to go about this. The first is with Yulio Jump. So when you render your projects with Yulio Jump, a new project will be automatically created in Yulio for you, and it will upload from your CAD program to your Yulio account like this. If you choose to render your scenes with a different rendering engine, you can create a new project manually just by clicking on this Create Project button. When you click on this button, this will open up a new project for you where you can manually upload all of your scenes that you rendered, as well as any other content that you want to include in your project. If you're rendering your scenes for VR with another rendering engine, just keep in mind that those files have to meet our upload requirements, which is what I mentioned earlier. And you can see our compatible upload formats just by clicking on this button. And we have all of those formats available to you. So again, that's just under the Scenes tab, and then this button here, See Compatible Formats. For today's training, we're going to imagine that we rendered with Yulio Jump, and our project has just finished processing. So I'm just going to go back here. So this office project is the project we're going to be working with. And I'm just going to click on that to open that up. So right now I'm on the project edit page of this project that was designed in CET and rendered with Yulio Jump. As you can see, my project scenes that I captured in CET have been processed and were uploaded here for VR. With Jump, you can also choose to have your floor plan and augmented reality models um, generated and uploaded for you, which I have done and I'll show you in a little bit. Like I said earlier, you don't have to use Yulio Jump to create a VR project. So if you choose to render your scenes with another rendering engine, you can manually upload those scenes just by clicking on this browse button here. All right, so since my scenes are ready, we're just going to move on to the project enhancement assets that we can upload. So as you can see here, we have scenes, and then we have audio, images, video, AR, and floor plan. For the purposes of today's webinar, I'm going to take advantage of all of our enhancements so that you can see how you can use each of them to elevate your VR project. But please note that these are, aside from your scenes, all of the extra enhancements are optional. Um, that being said, we do encourage you to take advantage of at least some of these extra project elements, as they can help you provide your clients with additional context around design choices and deliver a more interactive and engaging experience overall. So, our first enhancement we have here is audio. There's a couple of different ways that you can incorporate audio into your VR experience. The first is through audio hotspots, which are placed as clickable hotspots anywhere in your project. A couple of ways you can use audio hotspots are to insert a welcome message or describe a design choice. The second way you can incorporate audio into your project is through ambient audio. Ambient audio will automatically play when your viewer enters a scene. There's no hotspot associated with this audio. A couple of ways you can use ambient audio would be to add music or background noise to your project to set a certain mood and make the experience more immersive. Regardless of how you will be using your audio, you will upload all of those files here. So doing this now, I'm going to click on this browse button, select my files, and click open to upload those. Our next enhancement option we have is images. Here you can upload a JPEG or PNG file and add it as an image hotspot anywhere in your project. Some ways you can use image hotspots are to show your client a real life product shot, a material sample, or even a before and after photo. And again, to upload my images, I'm going to click on Browse, select my files, and open. Next, we have videos. Like images, you can insert video anywhere in your project as a video hotspot. A couple of different ways we see video being used are to incorporate product videos or introduce the designer and have them share some details about the design. Anyone with an active Yulio license can add a video to their project from YouTube. So to add a YouTube video, you'll just copy the URL and then return to your project and select the Add Video from YouTube button and then just paste the URL. One thing to keep in mind with adding a YouTube video is that you will not be able to view the video in Yulio from a VR headset. You'll only be able to view the YouTube video in the browser mode experience, so that would be from your desktop or your phone. If you're interested in uploading a video file directly from your computer, Yulio offers a premium video add-on at an additional cost. With this option, you can view the video in browser mode on a VR headset. The premium video add-on also enables you to incorporate video scenes into your VR project. So if this is something you're interested in, feel free to reach out to me later and I can put you in touch with one of our account executives to go over that with you in more detail. Our next project enhancement option is AR, or augmented reality. As you can see, I already have my AR model uploaded here because, like my scenes, it was generated during the rendering process with Yulio Jump. A benefit of adding AR to your VR project is that you can bring certain objects in your project to life for your client. So, using just a phone, a tablet, or a VR headset, your client can actually see what the object will look like in the context of their own physical space. The easiest way to create AR content for your Yulio VR project is with Yulio Jump, which again is available for Revit, SketchUp, and CET. So, if you want to learn more about adding AR to your projects, I would encourage you to check out the Yulio Jump user guides that I pointed to earlier. Again, they are available on our CAD plugins page. You can download the individual user guide depending on your preferred CAD tool, and there'll be a section included in each guide that covers AR assets and how to add them to your project. All right, if you choose not to use Yulio Jump, again, you can manually upload an AR model from your files as long as it meets our compatible upload formats, which you can see just by clicking on this compatible formats button. The final enhancement option we have is floor plan. Like I mentioned earlier, if you render with Yulio Jump, your floor plan can be automatically captured and uploaded to your project for you, which I have done. So mine is already uploaded here. Again, if you don't use Yulio Jump, you can always upload your floor plan manually. And if your space is multi-level, you can add multiple floor plans here as well. So when you include a floor plan in your project, Yulio will allow you to add location markers to that floor plan, which I'll show you later on. These location markers will represent each of your scenes, and your clients can use the markers to help them identify where they are in the space, and they can also use them to navigate to new scenes. So while the floor plan is an optional enhancement, we definitely recommend it. It's a great asset to have in your VR project. All right, so these are all the assets you can add to your project. You can always come back to this page at any time if you want to add more assets or remove assets. And one of the great things about Yulio is that you don't have to remember to save any of your changes along the way. All of your edits are automatically saved as you go. So now that I have all of my assets uploaded, my next step would be to open the hotspot editor and start adding the navigation and enhancement hotspots to my scene using those assets. So you can open the hotspot editor just by clicking on this big blue button. So when you open the hotspot editor, you'll see that you're standing in your first scene. And if you look to the left of my screen, you'll notice all of our hotspot editing options along the side here. So we're going to go through each of these one by one. The first hotspot editing option is labeled target scenes. If you've added more than one scene to your project, this is where you can add or edit your navigation hotspots throughout all of your scenes. So if you don't know, navigation hotspots are Yulio's form of point-to-point navigation. Your viewer can activate them to navigate to new scenes, and it helps give your viewer a sense of walking around the space. If you take a look at my screen here, my navigation hotspots have been placed in my project already. These are those white circles that you see in the scene. When you render with Yulio Jump, you have the option to add navigation hotspots to your scenes during the rendering process. So that's what I've done here, and it just saves me time from having to do it manually myself. That being said, I do like to come into the hotspot editor to fine tune my hotspots sometimes in the size of the navigation hotspots that are generated through Jump. So this is where that I would go to do that. If you want to adjust the location of your hotspot, you can use your mouse to click on the hotspot and drag it where you want it. So Yulio Jump, for example, will typically place your hotspots at eye level, but we've also seen users place their hotspots on the floor so that they don't take away from the scene. In this project, the view 2 that I'm editing now is actually a seated view, so the perspective is a little bit lower. So I actually like to come in and move that hotspot down just to reflect that seated view perspective. To edit the size of the hotspot, you can click on the hotspot and then select this pencil icon. When you do this, this will open your hotspot properties. So to edit the size of the hotspot, you can use this depth slider here to adjust the size. Sorry, and I say size, but technically, what this tool is doing is making your hotspot appear closer or further away in VR, which helps the viewer distinguish between near and far. So you'll adjust the depth slider depending on how far away or close you want the hotspot to appear in relation to your current camera position or view. I'm going to move mine close to near. So let me open that up again. Within your hotspot properties, you can also edit the title of your hotspot or even hide the hotspot title. Another thing you can do is change the color of your hotspots. So you can click one of the defaults, which is white or black, or you can open up this paint tool here and click on any of the other hotspots or any of the other colors you see. All right. Now, if you didn't use Yulio Jump, or if you just prefer to add your hotspots manually, you can do so just by dragging and dropping each scene into your current scene based on its location. So when you go to add a navigation hotspot, you'll see an image thumbnail here. That's your target view, and that tells you where that camera or hotspot should be positioned in the scene. So I will give you an example just by deleting my navigation hotspot here. So when my navigation hotspots are not added to my scene already, they'll kind of appear faded in this window pane here. So what I would do is take a look at where that thumbnail image is, and then just want to reflect that by dragging and dropping it into that approximate location in my scene. Again, when I drop it, my hotspot properties will appear, and that's where I can adjust the depth, the title, and the color. An important note to add here is if you're adding your navigation hotspots manually, you will have to add your hotspots to each scene. So don't forget to move to the next scene and repeat those steps. So once I had all of my hotspots in this scene, I would click on this arrow here, move to my next scene, and again, add in all of my hotspots to this scene as well. All right, so now that I have my navigation hotspots, we'll continue moving down our list here. Next is audio. So here are the audio files I uploaded earlier. The first one or the second one we have here is just a welcome message. I'm going to return to my first scene just to add that in there. So to add it to my scene, I can just drag and drop it in the scene. Once I drop the hotspot, I can edit my audio properties here, just like my navigation hotspots. So I'm going to leave this title on. However, I'm just going to shorten my title to welcome, just because longer titles can take away from your scene, especially when you're viewing in VR. So we like to keep them short. And then my depth looks good, and I like the color, so I'm just going to click close. All right, continuing down the list, we have text. So some ways you can use text hotspots are to insert a welcome message, offer product details or specs, or provide any additional information about the space. To create my hotspot, I'm going to click on Create Annotation. Text hotspots are the only hotspot that you don't upload anything in advance for, so we didn't have to upload any content on the project edit page. You create all of your text hotspots right here in the hotspot editor. So I'm just going to use this text hotspot to promote Yulio's 30-day free trial. So starting with the title, I'm going to write Try Yulio. And then I can add a short message here. Okay, and then the next thing I can add to my text hotspot is an external link. So this is a clickable link that will appear when someone opens the text hotspot, and they can click on that link to visit an online PDF or another web page that can provide more information. So I'm going to title my link here. I'll just write get started. And then I'm going to link to, in this case, Yulio's pricing page. So that if someone's interested in signing up for a free trial, they can click that link and it will direct them right to that page. Next, I can adjust the depth a little bit, color, and then press close. I'm just going to drag it over to where I want the text hotspot. Okay, done. Next, we have images. So here I can see all of the images I uploaded earlier. I'm actually going to move to my third scene to add in an image hotspot. And I can do that just by clicking on this scene list dropdown and then click view 3 and select. That's just a simple way to move to a new scene. So ideally, if you're wondering why I moved to a new scene, ideally when you're creating and placing your enhancement hotspots, we recommend sprinkling those hotspots throughout all of the scenes in your project, just because this can help keep your clients engaged as they move from scene to scene. And it also helps you from kind of overcrowding one single scene with a bunch of hotspots. So now that I'm in my new scene, I'm going to add in one of my image hotspots. And just like I've been doing, I'm going to drag and drop the image into the scene. This image here is just another variation of this shelving system. So I'm going to place it over the shelf. Now looking at my hotspot properties, again, I have the option to keep the title or hide the title. I'm going to hide this title. And that's just the project name. And I'm hiding it so it's not distracting in my scene. But my client will still be able to see the title when they open the hotspot. Again, I have the option to add a link to this hotspot. This would be a good um, scenario for adding or linking to the product page. So I can do that here. So product details. And then if they want to learn more about this shelving system, they can click on that link and it will take them to the product page. We can adjust our depth and then press close. All right, the next hotspot we can add is video. I'm going to actually move back to my second scene to add the video, and I can do that just by another way I can do that is by clicking on this scene arrow at the bottom of the screen. So now that we're in our second scene, this is that seated position that I was mentioning earlier. So it's just a little bit of a lower perspective as if someone's sitting on the chair. We do often see videos being placed on a screen, so a TV or computer. But of course, you can place them anywhere you'd like. For this project, I'm just going to place the video right on the computer screen. I'll keep the title on for this. Again, I have the option to add an external link, but I'm going to leave that blank. I will adjust the depth and press close. And that's it. The last hotspot we can add here is AR hotspots. Like I said earlier, I rendered this project with Yulio Jump and I added AR models to my render. So my AR hotspots were generated and placed in my project automatically. Similar to navigation hotspots, though, sometimes the placement or the size of the hotspots that are generated through Jump can be slightly off, or sometimes I just want to move them around a little bit. So I do like to come into the hotspot editor and adjust them if needed. So I can click on my AR hotspot here, select that pencil icon, and open up the hotspot properties. I can drag the hotspot to move it around. And then within these hotspot properties, I can come in here and turn on the title of that AR hotspot or leave it off. Again, I can add an external link. I'm just going to leave it blank today. Um, adjust the depth if I need to, and then even adjust the color if I'd like. All right, moving on from hotspots, I'm going to click on the floor plan icon, and this will open up my project's floor plan. What you can do in the hotspot editor to enhance your floor plan is add location markers that are associated with your scenes. Because I rendered with Yulio Jump and I selected the add floor plan um, function before rendering, all of my location markers have already been accurately placed on the floor plan for me. However, if you didn't use Jump, you would be able to just come in here and edit them and add them manually just by dragging and dropping them into the floor plan. So by having these location markers, your client can easily identify where they are in your space. So depending on which scene they're standing in, when they open up the floor plan, the location marker that represents the scene they're in will be highlighted this blue color. They can also use the location markers to navigate to a new scene just by clicking on them. And I'll show you this a little bit later on during our collaborate session. All right, the last optional enhancement that we haven't yet added to our project is ambient audio. Ambient audio is actually created outside of the hotspot editor, so I'm going to click on this back button and I'll return to our project edit page here. So now that I'm back on this page, I'm going to add ambient audio under the Scenes tab, which we're in now. You can add ambient audio to any or all scenes. As I mentioned earlier, ambient audio will play as soon as your client enters the scene where you've added the audio. So to add audio to a scene, you can click on this sound button. This will open up the files that you added earlier or you uploaded under audio earlier. We have an office ambience sound here, so I can click on that to add it to the scene. And then I can also choose to either loop it indefinitely or just loop it once. And then I can press save, and my ambient audio will be added to the first scene in my project. And if I want to add it to one or more scenes, I can just repeat those steps for all scenes that I want to add ambient audio to. If you want to delete the audio, just again click on the sound icon and then deselect the audio and press save. So at this point, my project is ready and I can go ahead and view it. There are a couple of different ways you can open and view any of your projects, but from this page specifically, you can just click on this View in 360 button, and this will open your project in browser mode. So this is what that browser mode experience looks like, and I can use my mouse to just click and drag around the scene. As you can see, all of the hotspots we just created are here in the space, and we'll explore this project and test out those hotspots at the end of our session when we do a collaborate session. For now, I'm just going to exit out of this. Now, the next thing I want to go over are some tools we have for sharing your projects. So as we know, when you click on a project in your Yulio account, you will be taken to the project edit page, which we're on now. At the top of this page, you'll notice a few tabs if you haven't already. We have the Assets tab. This is where we upload all of our content. Beside that, we have Markups. This is where you can view a report of any markups that have been made on this project with the Project Markup tool. Next, we have the Share tab, which I'm about to go over. And we also have Analytics, which contains a report of viewer data for this specific project. I'm not going to go over markups and analytics in detail today, but I do cover them in some of our other webinars. So I encourage you to join our other webinars when you see them pop up. All right, for sharing, I'm going to click on the Share tab. So within this tab is where you'll find your project URL. Each project you create with Yulio has its own unique URL, and you can copy and share it anywhere you would share a regular URL. Anyone with this link can open and view your full project unless your project is set to private. If you're wondering how to set your project to private, you can do that just by clicking on the settings icon. By default, all projects created in Yulio are created public. If you want to private them, again, you can open the project, select that settings icon, and then select private. On the right side of the URL, we have a few more sharing options. This first icon opens your project's unique QR code, which you can download and print or share digitally. In an event or trade show setting, you can have this code on display at your booth, and anyone with a smartphone can scan the code and the project will pop up on their phone. Next, we have a text sharing icon or text sharing tool, so you can just put in the number of whoever you want to share your project to, and it will go directly to their phone and they can open up and view the project on their phone. Beside that, we have the embed icon, which allows you to embed your project directly on your website. This is a great feature because you can showcase multiple projects on your company website and they are fully interactive. So here's actually an example of what an embedded project looks like. So it's pretty much that full browser experience, and your client can move scene to scene and explore the project freely. On the left side of the URL, we have this default starting scene tab. So when you open this drop down, this allows you to choose the starting scene that your project opens up to. So, for instance, if you want your client to see a certain scene in your project and maybe approve a new design or product in that scene, you can send them directly to that scene instead of having them have to go through all of the other scenes in your project to get to it. So, if I choose my starting scene, I can choose view 3 as my starting scene so that when my client opens the URL to my project, it will take them directly to view 3 or scene 3. All right, that's it for sharing today. We're going to wrap up the webinar with a collaborate session. So you can click on this tab at the top to start a collaborate session. So, Collaborate is Yulio's best tool for presenting your projects to clients and colleagues. When you host a Collaborate session, everyone can meet in the same virtual space, and you can guide viewers around the space, see what others see, and collect feedback. We see this feature used for in person and remote meetings, and even at events. With Collaborate, all the guests that you're meeting with, whether in person or remote, can join from a VR headset or in browser mode. So, to launch a session, you're just going to click on Start Collaborating. As the host, you must launch a Collaborate session from your browser. You can't launch a session from your VR headset. So, next, you're going to select which project you'd like to host your session in. Something to note here is that if you have a headset connected to your Yulio account in your projects and you have projects uploaded to your headset gallery, when you start a Collaborate session, by default, the first project in your headset gallery will load automatically. So to add guests to your um, to change that, you can click on this settings icon and deselect auto load first headset project. And when you do that, you'll be able to manually select which project you're collaborating with when you start a collaborate session. Okay, to add guests to your session, you're going to click on this person icon with the plus sign next to it. If your guests are in a position where they can see the screen we're looking at, they can scan this QR code with their phone and join on their mobile device. They can also join by going to live.yulio.com and entering this unique group code. So today's group code is FBA3. I'm going to invite whoever wants to join this session to join on your mobile device. You can either scan this QR code with your camera or, like I said, visit live.yulio.com and enter the group code. And I do recommend joining on your mobile device so that you can see what your perspective will be as a what your perspective would be as the client viewing the collaborate session, and then what your perspective will be on my screen as the host. When a new guest joins a session, you'll be able to see their name pop up in the participants tab here. So I'll just give you another few seconds to join. Again, you can just scan that QR code with your phone's camera. All right, let's get started. So now that you've joined on your mobile device, you can look at my screen to see what your perspective will be as you host sessions moving forward. And then what you see on your mobile device is what your guest experience will look like. Before we get started, I want to point out our latest feature that is now available in Collaborate, and that is our live meeting tool. Live meeting is an integrated function that allows you to speak to and hear from your guests right within the Collaborate session, meaning you no longer have to use an external communication or meeting tool to chat with your guests in Collaborate. What's great about this tool is that it works whether your guests are joining from a smartphone, desktop, tablet, or VR headset. To turn it on, you would just click on this Start Chat button, and you can start communicating in real time with your clients or colleagues. I'm not going to use the start chat or the live meeting function today just because I'm hosting a collaborate session and there would probably be some conflicts with the audio, but I encourage you to use that feature in your own sessions moving forward. All right, let's get started with our session. So, looking at my screen, as a host, there's two ways you can present your collaborate session. We have present mode, which we're in now, and explore mode. By default, collaborate sessions will open in present mode, and we do recommend starting off in this mode because it gives you, as the host, the control to guide your viewers through the experience and direct your viewers' attention to certain areas in a scene. In this mode, only the host can activate hotspots and move to new scenes. Before we start looking around, an important thing to note is that while in present mode, your guest screens will not be following your gaze exactly. So if you join the session, you'll notice that we're in the same scene, but as I look around, your gaze will not be following this mine exactly. Oops. That being said, I can direct my guest's attention to a certain area at any time just by using this spotlight button. So let's say I wanted to direct your attention over to this text hotspot. I would move my perspective there and then click on this spotlight tool, which looks like a flashlight. And if you join the session, you should see that your gaze was redirected to match mine. All right, so we'll start taking a look at some of our hotspots. We'll start here with this text hotspot. When I open that, you should see that it opens on your screen as well. There's that external link there as well if you wanted, if the client wanted to open that. Now we'll activate one of our navigation hotspots and we'll move to view 3. And you should have followed me into that new scene as well. So we're just taking a look at the space from a new perspective. We'll go ahead and open this image hotspot now, and that should appear on your screen as well. Now, if I open the floor plan, you can open the floor plan just by clicking on this map icon at the bottom of the screen if you're the host. So Opening the floor plan, I can identify where I am in the space just based on the location markers that I added earlier. So as you can see, the location I'm in is highlighted blue, and I can navigate to a new scene just by clicking on any one of these markers. All right, now I'm back at my first scene here. So I'll open up now one of our AR hotspots and show you what that experience looks like. So taking a look at my screen, this is what the browser experience looks like when viewing an AR hotspot from your computer. So I can click and drag my mouse to view the object in full 360. If your guest has joined the Collaborate session on their computer also, what they can do if they want to see this object in true AR is scan this QR code that is on the screen. This will open up the AR object on their device where they can see the object as a digital overlay on their physical environment using their phone's camera. So they can position the object, scale it, and walk around it. If your guests join the Collaborate session from a VR headset with mixed reality capabilities or from their phone or tablet, they will be able to just open the object and have that true AR experience without having to scan any QR codes. So they can, if they joined or if you joined on your phone, you can just click that AR button at the bottom of your screen and that will open the AR model in true AR for you. Okay, I'm just going to exit that. Okay, the host of the session, while in present mode, you can give host privileges to any of your guests at any time. So to do this, you can just click on their name. So I'll click on Lisa here. And if Lisa looks around, we can see what they're looking at. And they can also move to new scenes as well and open hotspots. So this is a great way to let one or more of your guests take control of the session. And when you do this, they will be able to um, change any scenes, open any hotspots, and so on. As the host, I can take back present mode at any time just by clicking on my name. Now, for explore mode, to activate explore mode, you'll just click on that button. In this mode, all guests can explore the project freely, including activating hotspots and navigating to new scenes. During this time, explore mode will gaze through each guest view every 10 to 15 seconds so that you can see what all your guests are looking at and where they are exploring. If you're in explore mode and you want to take back control, again, just click on present. All right, so that will wrap up our Collaborate session and our webinar. So I know that was a lot of information to take in a short amount of time, but I hope that you were able to learn more about your Yulio account and how easy it is to start creating and sharing your VR projects. Thank you all for joining me today. If you have any questions, you can submit them in the question box, and I will stick around for the next couple of minutes to answer those. As a reminder, if you want to book an additional training session with me, my email is up on the screen, so please feel free to reach out, and I will gladly work with you to set up a time for us to meet. Of course, you can also email me at any time if you have any questions that pop up later. On the screen as well, I just want to let you know we also have our webinar schedule up for the fall. So if you go to try.yulio.com/webinars, you can check out our webinar schedule and sign up for any other ones that might interest you. So thank you again for joining. I look forward to seeing you at future webinars and have a great rest of your day.